Hi, thanks for joining me today. I thought it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about the things I got in my starter kit when I became a demonstrator, and tell you what I got and why, and what I think about my choices now, coming up to a year on, whether I made the right choices or not. Now, I'd been using Stampin Up products, buying through resale sites, using retired products, really to save money for my business, because I use them in the packaging of my business for my business. And then a little thing called Celebration came along, and there was a really good offer for demonstrators. So I thought, I might become a demonstrator, and then I'd be able to buy current products, and I'd be able to get a discount on those current products. And that was my intention at the time. And that's still what I do it for, really. I love making things, I love sharing what I do. And I also sell things, not everything I make I sell, but I like to show some of the things, how I make them, so inspire other people to make them. So yeah, so anyway, so I got a starter kit. Now, you could get £130 worth of anything you wanted from the catalogue at the time. It was the catalogue prior to this one. And it cost you £99, and you didn't have to pay postage and packing. Postage and packing is normally £4.95 for anything with Stampin' Up, unless you're with a demonstrator who can offer you a reduction on that through various means. Then the other thing was we got 2 free stamp sets as part of the joining offer at that time as well. And I think there was something else, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, so what I bought was my 2 free stamp sets I got was this one, Bella and Friends. And the reason I got Bella and Friends was I'd just got a dog, and I'd been making lots of doggy gift things at Christmas, and I didn't have much to work with, really, in terms of dog and animal based stamp sets or papers or anything. So that's why I chose that one, and I'm glad I chose that one because I have used it a lot, but I don't use it anywhere near enough as much as I should do, really. I don't know what this means. Does this mean that it's sold over 1 million? Yes, I can imagine it being popular. I do have this one as well now. A lady kindly gifted me this one when I was doing some work for a cat charity. That and Joy I have used so many times, the stamp there, simply because it's a small stamp, so it's just so easy to fit into little circles. It fits inside flowers, it fits inside all sorts. So I've used every stamp on this out of this set. I don't use it as much now because I think you kind of move on to other stamps. But I was lucky in that it did carry forward into the new catalogue as well. It wasn't one of the retired ones. Another one I chose was this one, Birthday Blossoms, which is at the bottom of this page. And the reason I chose Birthday Blossoms was because I wanted some flowers. Do you know, I even forgot those leaves are in there. I forgot. I don't look at them often enough. I haven't used this often enough because I'm just looking at it now and thinking, why haven't I used it more? But I'd seen somebody create some DSP using the Pansy stamp. So I went for this one because it had the Pansy stamp, and then I also got the Pansy Punch. So I could punch out pansies. Another thing I got was at that point we had a different we had the 2015-17 in colours. I didn't get any of those, but what I did get was I got the Dapper Denim, the Emerald Envy, and I think the Flirty Flamingo inks from this range. And then in my next order, my very first order as a demonstrator, I got another 2, so I had that full set of in colour inks. And one of the reasons I got those was because I really liked a DSP stack, which was I'd seen used by a demonstrator. And so these are all different now, but it was that, and it came with a stack of papers, or you could buy it with a stack of papers, cardstock. And rather than just have very limited sort of colours, I decided to go for a stack and a matching DSP bundle. Well, the stack bundle and the DSP bundle, you don't save money by buying them together. And mine had Dapper Denim in it, Flirty Flamingo, Dapper Denim, Calypso Coral, and something else. I think it was a green one. And so those colours kind of went with what I got in terms of ink. So at least I could make something from start to finish that was coordinated. I also got myself a fast fuse, and I got myself a Tombow, and I got myself some dimensionals. I love the dimensionals straight away. I love the Tombow straight away. The only thing was with Tombow, I used too much of it, and so my first few little bottles of it, because it's only small, it's only 27 mils. It's only like a nail varnish, really. In fact, it's less than some of my nail varnishes. But you don't need to use a lot of it, and that was where I was going wrong. I was using way too much of it. Dimensionals are amazing. They stick so easily. They fit into little nooks and crannies. They're great. And now there's the mini dimensionals, so I wouldn't have changed that. The fast fuse, I used to use tape pens all the time, double-sided adhesive dispensers all the time, because I just found them clean, because I'm covered in glue now. I found them clean and easy and simple to use. But I wasn't always happy with the stickability. Like, I'd sometimes wake up in the morning and my projects would be coming apart and I'd have to use a liquid glue to stick them back together again. So I wanted to try fast fuse because I'd seen it demonstrated, and I must say I was really impressed that it is super sticky and it does hold things together more than overnight. The only thing with it is there's a knack to using it, and until you've got that knack, I wasted so much money on fast fuse trying to get the knack. I watched videos, it still didn't work, but I got my own particular knack and now it works. But now I use Tombow much more. I just find it's just much better, and I'm just decided to try and be more tidy with my gluing, and it's so much cheaper as well. So yeah, this Tombow and dimensionals are something that I'd recommend you put in every order that you place, or bulk order them once in your quarter, in your sales quarter, or whatever. But definitely you don't want to be running out of them, so always make sure you've got those in your stash. Another thing I bought was my Stampin Trimmer and my Simply Scored scoring tool. Now, prior to this I had a Rexel trimmer, which had done me all right, but I just liked the look of this trimmer when I saw it being used on videos and stuff, so I bought it and I wasn't disappointed. I absolutely love it. Best trimmer I've ever used. I've had lots of different ones, but it's my favourite one. The only thing is that my old trimmer could cut through about 8 sheets at a time, and this really will only do 1. I have occasionally managed to get 2 pieces of DSP through it, but yeah, so I would recommend, if you do a lot of big batches, to get a guillotine or something to go alongside it. And the Simply Scoring tool I really like. I bought it, I used to have a, what's that woman's name? Can't remember her name. There's some woman who does some woman, she's like a big name in the crafting world. Anyway, I used to have hair board, and it was more or less the same, except it came with 2 like bone folder type scorers, and it worked perfectly well. It didn't have these markers, and I found these markers quite useful when you're doing big batches of things. So It's got a useful little drawer that pulls out as well, although mine won't pull out, never has done, just can't get it to move. But it's not such a big deal because I wouldn't use it anyway. The back of the Stampin Trimmer, I always put my spare blades. Again, this is something you want to be ordering. If you do a lot of cutting, you want to be ordering these with every order, because you don't want to be caught without them, as I was last week, and you could see in my projects they were being ripped to shreds down the side. So you really need to make sure you've got good blades. So that's something definitely I'd recommend. The other thing I bought was the Pansy Punch. And I've used that quite a lot, although to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of it. The punch is fine, it's just, I find it very difficult to make the flowers look pretty when I've printed them out. And I don't know if that's just me. I might actually set myself a challenge to make the pansy punches look pretty at some point, because I find with the Delightful Daisy, with the Daisy Punch, you just can't go wrong. Everything you do with that looks gorgeous. But with this one, I don't know if it's got too big a space in the middle, and I don't know what, but I'm gonna set myself a challenge to make the pansies look pretty. I do use them. I don't know if I've got anything lying about. I made something the other day with some on, but they just never look right to me. But anyway, I was still glad I bought that, because I got the stamp set to go with it, and so I got to stamping and punching, the same things. And that was just about it in my first kit. If I was doing it now, I'd have bought a stamp set. I probably wouldn't have bought the Bella and Friends. I'd have probably bought a stamp set that had more sentiments. So maybe something like Better Together, or just add text, something like that. I'd have bought, from this catalogue, I'd have bought something like the Daisy Punch rather than the Pansy, or I'd have bought something really versatile like the Pretty Label. It's really great. I mean, I use that constantly. I use it for so many things, and I'm also getting really into the scallop topper, but I think this would be my number one choice. In terms of colours and inks and stuff, the other thing I also got with my first order was I got white, Whisper White and Very Vanilla and black, I think, cardstock, as well as a basic sort of. Did I get all of those, or did I just get white to start with? I might have just got white to start with. Right, as for colours, one thing I didn't know was that obviously these ink colours will go out in in next year, 2018, in June. And I bought all the other ink colours, not knowing. I bought these first, and then I bought those, and I was going to work my way through each order 5 of each colour. And I'd bought the 5 inks, and in sort of, I don't know, February, March time, not realising that they were going out, they were being retired in a couple of months. So I wish I hadn't done that now. I would have still bought these ones, but I wouldn't have bought, like, if I was doing it now, I'd buy these, but I wouldn't buy those. And I'd avoid anything with those colours in, because it'll all retire in June. Now I think I'd go for these sort of from the other collections, and I'd go for colours, I'd go for a blue, a red, an orange, a green, a yellow, something like that, and I'd go for a basic black. So I'd probably get them from different collections, just so I could mix up, bright and subtle and regal, if I was doing it that way in my starter kit. I'd definitely go for a DSP stack with a matching cardstock again. Any one of these, especially if you're going to go if you wanted to avoid if you become a demonstrator close to the end of the season, you might want to avoid any cardstock that you're not going to be able to carry over as a demonstrator. So you might want to avoid the retiring ink colours for 2018. But otherwise it's a great way to start, because that coordination, you can get it all going on from the very beginning. Definitely, if you haven't already got the Tombow and the dimensionals, definitely get those. The glue pens, jury's out for me on those as a starter, unless you desperately need to have the glue pen, the adhesive rollers I mean. Definitely get Whisper White. Whisper White cardstock is something that should be on every order really, I think, for most people. It's a great base for everything. So that would definitely be in there. And what else? The other thing that I'd consider putting in there is some dies. My blocks, what I do is I buy them as I go along, and to be quite honest with you, I nearly only ever use, I've got the really little one, A. I rarely ever use any other than C, and what's this one? This is one I use all the time, E. C and E I use nearly all the time. I think if I had, I've got this one as well, and this one, but I just buy them as I go along. As I think, oh, I could really use that block, I buy them. I don't just buy the whole kit. What else? Yeah, I'd buy a set of dies, I think. I'd buy something like the stitched shapes framelets, because there you're getting circles, squares and ovals at a really good price, 27 quid, because they do nest as well. So yeah, that would be something that would definitely go in my starter kit now, if I knew what I knew now. Yeah, butterfly dies, always a good buy if you're a butterfly person. You can do so much with them. Embossing folders I love. I don't know if I've got that one. I was looking for that the other day. I could have sworn I bought it. Yeah, so I'd stick with that kind of stuff. You know, your ribbons and trims, they all retire as well in June. So I wouldn't, what I did was I went into shares with these, so I could have a small piece as a share to demonstrate and to see which ones I used a lot before buying the whole lot. I think it was 300 and something quid to buy the whole lot of trims, and some of them I've never touched still, but that's because I haven't touched them, not because they're no good. They're all gorgeous. But there are some that you'll use a lot more than others. This one, this natural trim in gold and silver, and this metallic edge ribbon in gold and silver, I use a lot because they go with so many different things. And this gold and silver mini ribbon as well. They just add a little extra touch of something to the project. I love the narrower ribbons. I seem to use them more than the bulky ribbons. Baker's twine, again, just, you know, even if you just have black and white, that's a good thing to go with. Yeah, and think about stamp sets that you're going to use for you. So think about, you know, do I love flowers? Do I love mermaids? Do I send a lot of cards to people who drink? Do I send a lot of cards to, you know, is it for Christmas? You know, is it stamp sets I want? Do I make a lot of cards for children? When this came out, I really desperately wanted it. I mean, not just wanted it, I had to have it, I needed it, and I still haven't got it because I've thought, you know what, I don't think I'd use it that much, to be honest. But, you know, think about that. What I tend to do is I tend to go through, right at this moment in time, I'm thinking I do need this again, because there's a few projects I'm doing where I could really use that. So that's probably going to go on my next order. At the minute I'm a bit obsessed with Christmas and New Year and whatever, but that's definitely is back on my list of must-haves. I have a wish list of I need to have, I want to have, and I try and go through the need to have list first, even if that means sometimes my order comes and it's just loads of Whisper White and basic black paper and dimensionals, which is quite depressing. But if you need it, you need it. So yeah, and I also am very sort of strict with my budget because it's part of my business. So I have a certain budget for my packaging, which essentially is what I'm buying from Stampin' Up. And so to keep my costs low, I mean, I could put my cost of my products up and I could buy everything in the catalogue, but I have a really strict budget for what I'm using, so I do stick to that. But even so, I've built my stash up very quickly, you know, and I've got a nice versatile set of stuff, and I'm adding to it all the time, and I'm excited to see new products that come out. So yeah, you know, just think about what you're going to use a lot, because the other thing is when you become a demonstrator, you can't order anything for 7 days. It's a cooling off period. So while you're waiting for your starter kit to arrive, you can't really order anything else. So you might want to think about things you can get to using straight away, because after your 7 days, any place you order, it can be like 3 or 4 days, even 5 days if there's bank holidays and it's a busy period or whatever, before you actually get your goods. So you could be nearly a fortnight from placing your demonstrator order to actually getting your second order, if you like. So think about what you can use in your first order, and think about things you can use together. Like I said, that stamp set, the coordinating papers, getting the inks that coordinate with the papers and the cardstock kit, and you know, that served me well. Another thing I look at is where it says in the catalogue new, a little wild, because I think if it's new in this catalogue, it might carry over to the next one. Some stamp sets have been around for years, evidently, and they just carry over due to popularity. So a new one, if it's not popular, it might not carry over. But I don't know. I think if it's new, then it's likely to have had a bit of a surge in sales. So it's likely to more likely to carry over, I think. So that's just, it's not cast in stone by any means, but that's just a rule of thumb I use. If there's two that I'm torn between, so say there was two sort of similar ones like this and one was new and one wasn't, I'd probably go with the new one, thinking that it would be still current next year. Yeah, because demonstrators are demonstrators, so they're demonstrating the current product mainly. You will see demonstrators using retired product now and again where there isn't an alternative, or where they don't have the alternative, because we don't keep all the stock in our homes. You know, we get ours the same as you by ordering it. So if we haven't actually got that item ourselves, we might use a retired item, but if somebody can't get hold of that retired item, it can be a bit frustrating. It's like I've just made these little egg holders using a retired DSP, but this DSP is on the clearance rack, and so is this twine, so people could still get hold of that even though it's retired. Okay, whereas some things they can't get hold of that are retired, and they might have to, you know, they can try resale sites, but it's best to show people things that they can actually buy and use. So anyway, I hope that was useful. I think that's about it really. It's amazing how fast you build up your stash. What I tend to do, another thing, is to make sure you stick in your budget and you don't buy things you're never going to use, because I think there's nothing worse than buying stuff and just sticking it on a shelf and never using it. I mean, I'm all about using things to their max, you know, until they're exhausted. My stamps that I do have are you know, look pretty battered, and you know, they're dyed all sorts of colours, but I'd rather see my stamps like that than all pristine in a box and never been touched, because I'm all about getting things and using them. And so that's why I was saying it was a bit disappointing that there's some that I don't feel I've used as much as I should have done. But then when I think I have used them a lot, it's just I haven't used them a lot recently. But yeah, write down your wish list and then go back before you place your order and look at it again the next day and think, do I really want these things? Because sometimes I've placed orders and I've thought, oh yeah, I'll be able to do that with it, that with it, that. And then I'll write down what you're going to do with it and keep that somewhere, because sometimes I placed orders and my order comes and I open the box and I think, what was I on when I ordered this and thought that it'd all go together to make something? So, you know, do sort of keep tabs on yourself and on what you're ordering all this stuff for, because you might forget. You might be inspired by something you see. I might have seen this and thought, oh right, I've got to get that, which by the way is a gorgeous die set. I've got to get that, I've got to get that, I need that, I want that. You know, that's the, this is a gorgeous, I've got this. I got it as part of a Poodle's papercraft design team, and I've used it so much. I mean, that one is battered. But yeah, you might think, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And then it all comes in your box and you think, what on earth was I going to do with that? You know, and you've forgotten where you'd seen you've got your inspiration. So do sort of jot things down. Right, anyway, I can just see my friend has just pulled up in the drive. So I think I'm going to have to call it a day and go and be a hostess with the mostess. So I hope that was useful, and if it wasn't, then, well, at least I tried. Okay, just things that I wish I'd known and I wish I'd asked and didn't think to. All right, but if you want one of these catalogues, I have got some. If you want one, just leave a message if you're in the UK and I'll send you one. Okay, take care, bye-bye.